And thank you for joining us on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif. Join me and my co-host Kareem Hamid every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Female Solution Radio Show as we explore that relationship that is the foundation for our society, the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. Join our discussion as we seek to repair broken family ties and rebuild our community. Listen online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to our host. Or you can join us live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the Earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them from childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
And we are back, and I believe we are joined by our guest co-host, Michael Hamid. Are you with us?
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, I am. Can you see me? Can you see me?
No. Let's see. Have you? Let's see. I emailed you the StreamYard link.
Yeah, I wasn't able to navigate it though. But I see. Anyway.
Okay. Well, we got on the break. We'll try it. We'll keep working at it.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Good enough.
Yes.
Good
well,
enough.
We are so grateful. I've explained to our audience the technical difficulties our dear brother Kareem Hamid is having today. So we are so grateful that you're filling in so that our American Muslim 360 family can join us today. We've got a topic that I hope lends some understanding to both men and women who are struggling with trying to make relationships work. And it seems like it's just gotten more complicated. Back in our parents' day, you found somebody that was compatible, you got married, you had a family, you raised your children, you bought a home or whatever the case may be, you sent your children to school. I mean, that was just, and it wasn't that our parents were perfect. Everybody had their issues, but we knew how to do some basic things. And we're in the process now on the Female Solution of creating a parenting class. And one of the reasons why we are doing it, too many people are raising children and they don't have a clue as to what to do because so many are being raised in broken families that just never quite formed, single mothers, single fathers, aunts, aunties, and children aren't seeing that partnership relationship where two people get together and set some goals and work toward them and achieve them together as they raise their children. They haven't seen what that looks like. They don't know how to do it. So we're just kind of wondering.
That's right.
At what point did we stop teaching how to be a family, and how come it's so difficult? We have more than we've ever had wealth-wise. We got more millionaires, got more people who are successful in various areas of business and sports and entertainment and just all kinds of new ways of making a living. And yet we also have growing prison populations. It seems like growing cases of assault and abuse of children and domestic violence. So it's not like we don't have the means to take care of ourselves. It's just we don't seem to have the training on how to form a family. And that's so baffling. So, there's some things that we're planning to teach children that will help reverse this trend. But first, we got to figure out what it is that today's adults learned that somehow ended up in all of these broken families. Right now, I think the divorce rate is somewhere upwards to 70%. And, a lot of people just can't figure out how to have that partnership relationship. And a lot of women are angry. A lot of men are angry. And Brother Michael, I had a friend, a longtime associate, and we were having a conversation about male and female relationships. And, I was explaining some of the concepts that we're hoping to teach in this parenting class. And, the idea of marriage not being the ownership of a person. That used to be, a man married a woman that was his property. Well, that's kind of past. We're now seeing each other as independent beings that are coming together of our own free will to achieve goals together, raise children together, be family, and all of that. So there has to be the goal of mutual respect. Well, my associate became very angry and bitter. And, he's had a couple of divorces, and he spoke about how women are just, no good. And, he said, "You sound like a feminist." And I'm like, well, feminism is just basically standing up for the rights of women not to be abused and to be treated as equal beings. That's not a bad word. But in his mind, feminism is anti-male, anti-family, and all of those things. So in researching what's the best way to help our children learn mutual respect for the partners in life that they choose, we got to figure out, well, what is it that men are learning today is the purpose of a woman in their life? So what are their expectations, and how close to reality is that? And do we need to tweak some things so that this whole family situation can work? So what are your thoughts about that? Growing up, what were you taught by the men, by the women? What were you taught was the purpose of a woman in your life?
Well, that's just it. There's been a disconnect in terms of that kind of instruction. I grew up in a dysfunctional family. Father, alcoholic. Mother with issues that she admitted. Near the end of her life, as a matter of fact, she admitted to me that there were mistakes that she made in terms of. She didn't go into details, but she had made mistakes that she regretted in terms of her relationship with my father. And my mother was a very outspoken woman, and she was not one. She didn't play with dolls and things. She was a tomboy, and she'd rather do what the boys were doing. And so there were issues. My grandmother, who stayed with us and helped to raise us while my mother worked for the government. She worked at a place where they made rocket fuel, work for the federal government, the space program thing, making rocket fuel and that kind of thing. But the point is, we as a community, and because of the challenges to the African American community, we, they say when it rains it pours. We suffer because of past issues in trying to hold families together. And when the society became more sophisticated in terms of inviting us to things that we were told that we needed to have, the one thing that they didn't keep in front of us was that we needed to have a healthy relationship, husband and wife. And the way that the commercial establishment set up, they went from the demographic approach to family life, father, mother, children. They went to special advertising to the father, special advertisement to the mother. They broke up in terms of their approach in material sales. They broke the family down. You know, they had special messages for the children. You know, McDonald's as well. Now, look, little babies that can hardly speak know the McDonald's sign, you know,
Yes.
and other signs, you know, that they can balance. So we are in a much more challenging social environment, but we're not given that kind of instruction. And if we could just connect, I would say for the family and for the children, if we could just reconnect with nature, Mother Nature, and look at the different families of life, you know, there's a constructive, healthy model in the creation-supported social logic. You know, ducks do certain things. Right now, I'm in a situation where, you know, I can see ducks and I can see stork-like animals and squirrels, and all of these things have a particular social nature and a social approach. And when we were more connected with that awareness of nature, we fared better. We had a social environment before the 60s. Prior to the 60s, Black demographic website says that African Americans were the most married group in America, in spite of the challenges our ancestors coming through slavery and Jim Crow circumstances. You know, we were the most married, but
Yes.
you know, the negative portion of feminism that your friend was talking about is so upset. He was the only one that was upset. Shahrazad Ali in the 1989, she was highly upset with African American women in particular giving themselves to feminism. She said that's not our struggle. We didn't have that kind of relationship with our men. That's the European challenge. That's their challenge, not ours. You know, we didn't have that kind of relationship that they were protesting against. So we really need to have some bare meat where we deal with these bare fact issues and you know, stay out of the limelight and the camera light and have some real talk.
Well, you know, that definitely makes some sense. We have to pinpoint what is the issue. And I've heard a lot of women say, I've heard a lot of Black women say, well, we shouldn't be joining into the feminist movement because that's not our fight. We got to deal with this racism. And one of the things that we're looking to do with this parenting class is entitled Parenting with Peace. And the whole purpose of it is to raise a generation of children that is prepared to correct the mistakes of the past. They're raised to analyze what is and understand what created the problems so that they can create solutions and even heal the hurt that was caused in the past by our misunderstandings. Most families have a degree of dysfunction, and the dysfunction depends on the individual in the family. Families that have the alcoholic or the drug abuser or, you know, the gambler, you know, somebody that's in pain, because of their own childhood trauma, and they turn to something else
Yeah.
rather than deal with the pain. So most of us grew up with alcoholism in our families because that was the way that people dealt with the pain, the anguish, the hurt of racism, Jim Crow, humiliation, despair, all of those things. It was an escape from the emotional pain. And Black people tend not to get counseling because I don't know if it's a cultural thing, it's stigma, but it's just now in recent years been accepted to get therapy. Because with us, it was the culture that we have is, well, just go to church, you give it to Jesus, that kind of thing. And so religion became a way that people still didn't deal with their emotional hurt and their dysfunction. And you had many people who converted to Islam because they saw that the Christianity was not giving structure and instruction on how to live so that we didn't have that usual dysfunction. And alcoholism was a very big part of the dysfunction in our community. So when people turned to Islam, which forbid alcohol and drugs and all of that, there was a structured way of avoiding those things that we could see had been dysfunctional in our lives. And yet, even with that, you still have people that are emotionally scarred and having difficulty forming healthy relationships. Part of it is because we live in an abusive society, and part of it is because we don't learn to talk about things that hurt us. We just swallow it or blame someone else.
And I think we have, there's one clinician that I found shortly after I got remarried back in 2018. This clinician, his name is Kenneth V. as in Victor Hardy, and he deals with issues of our development as African that affect us on the individual as well as I would say a group level as well. How we're seen by the what is slowly becoming not the majority culture, slowly diminishing in terms of the numbers. We get to a point where the European Americans are becoming a smaller group, moving towards minority status. As a matter of fact, there's certain things that are going on in the culture because of that issue, and the issue in terms of these false social constructs like race and color superiority. These things have been scientifically debunked, and we're seeing a lot of psychosis, and I'm noticing a lot of psychosis. This Karen and Ken phenomenon, challenging African Americans for having barbecues, and it's psychotic behavior, because you can't. The soul was not meant to hold on to the lie that's been held on to, and since the scientific, discovery of the genome and other things, the lie doesn't have legs anymore. It can't stand. And along with the slow socialization of African Americans being integrated into the education system, where it was one system a lot of falsehood, even in terms of connected to our spirituality. You know, I've had an issue for years after coming through the Nation of Islam experience. I've had issues with this doctrine that women, females, women, mothers are the co-conspirators and collaborators with the devil himself.
I
If it
know.
wasn't for Eve, the world wouldn't be as
How
messed up.
horrible is
You
it?
know, and that goes way back.
Yes.
Women don't have souls. You know,
Yes.
this was taught from religious doctrine,
Yes.
and we've come to a point where we see the mess that has been made by men has gotten to the point where women are readily invited to come into the structures of power to help clean this stuff up. You know, women in the Supreme Court, women in every stage of the governmental life that men have messed up. Women are coming to, you know, prime ministers, and you know, the Muslims had Prime Minister Bhutto, the female prime minister of India, and others
Yes.
in Africa. Women becoming the leaders in Africa, because men have just messed up the world with these false doctrines and these lies. You know, so now the correction. Somebody had to live during the day of a judgment of all of these lies, and I guess we're here.
This is it. This is it. And that is really what's happening in the world. It's false doctrines and lies are falling apart. Anything that teaches that somebody is of lesser value or doesn't have a soul or isn't intelligent, all of that's falling away. And people who are upset about it are people who use those false doctrines to feel better about themselves. So now we
Not
have
only
this.
that, but they've made tons of money. You know, the demographic breakup of the family, from a family focus in terms of commercials to highlighting commercials for the mother, for the father, and the children separately. You know, it's all about making more money. When you break the family down like that, then you can, you know, put together commercial strategies to appeal to the different members, and it's about making more money and having more influence over the lives of people.
That's what's happening. And that's what we're seeing with our children. When our families fall apart, then our children become the prey that the predators devour. The things that they're doing in terms of steering our children's minds towards self-destructive behaviors that other people profit off of. This is what happens when you don't form that bond that is the protective bond for your children. This is what happens when you break apart. Then your children is just like in the wild. If the parents aren't there to watch over the children get devoured by the lion and the tiger and all the predators, the wolves. So you protect your children. So when we break apart as a family because of our confusion and our dysfunction, our children are getting devoured by this system that intends to misuse them and destroy them and profit from it. That's exactly what's happening. So we got to take a break. When we come back, and of course, I invite our listeners to call in 515-605-9325 or 515-605-9891. Our guest co-host today is Brother Michael Hameen, who is host of Not Just Talk on AM 360. And he's joining us today, filling in for our brother Kareem Hamid. And this is Not Just Talk today, because we are definitely trying to find out what it is that is causing the conflict, the reason why men and women are not able to form long-lasting families to protect our children. The question is, what are men taught is the purpose for a woman in their lives? What are we teaching our sons? We gotta find out what it is and fix it. So we'll be right back after this quick break, and you can close my mic and play your public service announcement. Give us about 3 minutes. We'll be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Assalamu alaikum. What happens when a group of people are kidnapped from their homes, smuggled away in chains, and held captive in a foreign land where they are tortured, raped, and forced to perform hard labor by the lash of a whip and under the constant threat of death? Slavery, the African American psychic trauma. What happened to the doctors, writers, scientists, builders, educators, and spiritual leaders from Africa's golden age? Who did they really capture and sell into slavery? Are all African Americans suffering from psychic trauma because of a conspiracy to hide their true identities? Do you have psychic trauma? Take the test on page 22 of the book and see. Order it online today at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. And get your personally autographed copy of the book, Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma.
Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPI Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and sitting in for Kareem Hamid today on American Muslim 360, we have Brother Michael Hameen, host of Not Just Talk on AM 360. And we've asked the question, men, what were you taught was the purpose of a woman in your life? We are in a transformative stage, and transformations can be painful. We have to correct things that were taught that were misteachings. That means correcting beliefs about women being in cahoots with the devil and bringing original sin. We have to really get rid of all the misteachings that create the conflict between the genders. No other species on the planet has an ongoing conflict between the male and female gender except for the human family. We have to get rid of notions that any particular color of skin is better than the other, or any particular place on the planet is better, or people are smarter. We have to get rid of all the lies that create the conflict. So as we prepare to launch our Parenting with Peace class, we look at what has to be corrected in the foundation of what we're teaching our children about life. And when we look at nature and we see the harmony, we know that we, the human being, is out of harmony with nature. So if we are able to discover what it is that we're believing that is incorrect, then we can correct that in the next generation of children that we raise. And we're back with our American Muslim 360 family. And we invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 when you're ready to speak, and we'll come right to you and get your comments. We've asked the question of men, what were you taught was the purpose of a woman in your life? So now Brother Michael, you have indicated, you've been married. You're married. You've had the experience. Maybe had what I call a starter marriage. That's when the one you kind of practice on, and then learn some things, and then realize, okay, that's not how it works. And then you and then the next person you learn better how to do things. But what were some of the things you learned the first time you got married?
Well, I first got married and stayed married for 23 years. And because of my wife told me, look, I've raised 6 children. I'm through raising children. And if I hadn't gone to court to get my youngest daughter, she and her husband were having problems. If I hadn't made the decision to go to court and get those children out of that toxic environment that my daughter and her husband had produced, I might still be married to that first woman.
Oh, so when she came back to your house, that created... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just asking, so when you brought your daughter into the house, that created a conflict?
Well, I brought the grandchildren.
Oh.
I wanted them. I wanted my daughter and her husband to stay wherever they were and get themselves together. But I'm relieving you of the children through the courts because you two are just
toxic.
Wow. So my first wife had a problem with it. I love her and love her to this day. And she's going through some health issues, challenges with dementia. But my second marriage was so successful, and I found out about what's this terminology? It's called disassociation. Where you bottle stuff up, and then when something in your present day life, just bottle stuff up from your past, and when your present day life hits a bump and triggers an emotional response, all of this stuff comes out. And it wasn't anything nice. So I'm presently estranged from my second wife right now, but I learned a lot because I've been very interested in terms of what Scripture says about our souls and our psychology, and I'm learning a lot. I mentioned Dr. Kenneth B. Hardy as a clinician who you can pull up YouTube presentations from him, but there's another clinician. I call them both a Fitcher-based or Mother Nature-based clinician. There's a Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. He's out of New England, and he has a book entitled "The Body Keeps Score," and dealing with trauma.
I've heard of that.
And there's a lot of trauma going on right now in terms of people's lives, and people being re-traumatized. And there's Dr. What is her name? Joy DeGruy, post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Yes.
And that book deals with the untreated trauma coming out of the slavery experience, passed down through the genes and through the environment of us re-traumatizing ourselves. But in spite of that, we were the most married group in America prior to the 60s, according to Black statistical information. But something happened. It just showed how much we as men and women in the African American community really wanted to be together. But the landscape shifted in terms of what was being taught. Certain influences came in that we just weren't able to deal with, and it may not be a majority. I don't know if it's a majority of men and women that are having problems, because we don't want to be those that say everybody's got, everybody does. There are people that have, there are people in our ethnic group that have healthy, productive marriages.
Yes.
We don't want to deny that, but there are influences, and one of the main ones is, well, you asked the question, well, what were we taught? I contend with women going into the workplace, having to be married, something happened to the psyche that said that to the women, I'd much rather raise a child by myself than to be married. And that there's something wrong with that picture. That's not healthy. When the child, if you're thinking about the child's interests are best served with a husband and a wife together. But something happened. Something happened in the environment to have women to be less afraid of raising a child by themselves than getting married. And I think something happened to our choice selection for both the men and women, and we started choosing individuals that were not our match or mate, started choosing individuals on the men's side, men that were less responsible, that were more pleasure seeking, and people that have psychological issues. We look for. In fact, even when you don't have psychological issues, we look for the relief from stress.
Yeah.
And so we look for all kinds of different ways to relieve stress. That's just how human beings are made. And some of those choices for stress relief did not serve us well and have not served us well.
I agree. It's interesting that right after emancipation, we had the highest number of marriages that stayed. And then in subsequent years, the marriage rate declined. And in the beginning, when we got together as husband and wife, we just worked on survival. Whatever you got to do, whether you got to, scrub floors or work out in the field. I mean, we did it together. Whatever we had to do, we worked it out. We made a way to take care of our children. And then somehow the notion became respect comes from how much money you make or what your status is. And I think the educational system, the philosophy behind education, the classism, I think that's what kicked in. The idea of class. I'm better than you. I have a white collar job. You have a blue collar job. I think women, in a lot of ways, were negatively influenced by the idea of class, which is just as a ridiculous construct as race. But somehow what you do for a living defines your worth as a person. So if I've gone to school and I have a doctorate degree and I'm a principal of a school and you are a sanitation worker and we get together, if I have been conditioned to believe that what you do for a living is not as honorable or respectable or somehow lower class than then I will not give you the respect of being who you are as a man who works to take care of his family. So I do think there was a great deal of brainwashing that women succumbed to with that idea that certain kinds of work is not as prestigious as other kinds of work, and you have to be with someone on your class level. And that was very destructive, I think, to our families, because in the past we just worked. We know we gotta feed these children. We gotta take care of our household, and whatever kind of work you can get, whatever kind of work I can get, we're just gonna do what we need to do to survive. And we want our children to be better, so we're gonna now send them to school. Well, that's great, but then when your children go to school in a culture that is creating these artificial divisions among human beings, then that's the kind of philosophy they're going to learn. So when you learn to look disdainfully on people who do physical labor, as if because I work in an office, my work is more prestigious and worthy of respect than yours, well, then those are the attitudes that we brought back to our families, our communities, our relationships. So that's where a lot of the conflict that I've seen in couples, where maybe the woman she might have more education, or she might have a job that makes more money, whatever the case may be, but she allowed the society to make her think that her husband wasn't as valuable, and so she ended up treating him that way, and that created a lot of hostility. And I know a lot of men are still carrying hostility toward women because of those kinds of attitudes. A lot of them that their marriages ended when the woman went out and got a job. Maybe she made more money. Maybe he was between jobs. Whereas in the past, among healthy families, if the man lost his job and the woman worked for a while, she didn't look at him any less. It's just, this is what we're doing for our family to survive, and we'll do whatever is necessary for our family to survive, but you are no lesser of a man while you're in between jobs and I'm paying the bills. If she succumbed to the brainwashing, then she might feel like, well, I can do bad by myself. I don't need you. Get out. And that's kind of what a lot of women did. A lot of hostility was over financing and who made the most money. We allowed a culture to infuse that thought in us and destroyed our homes. And so now you have a generation of children raised in single parent, female headed households. They don't know what a male female relationship looks like. They don't know what a partnership looks like. They don't know what it means to have two people work together to achieve things and respect each other. They don't know what that means. So like you say, you have men that learn, well, a woman is for, some thrills, some sex, whatever. And when you're done with her, dump her and go on to the next one. Women who learn will find somebody with some money who can buy you things. And if you can't do that anymore, throw them out. So that's the mentality that we're bringing to relationships today. And none of it is about securing a family so that you can have a healthy, functional, loving, nurturing home so that you have emotionally secure children. So that's what I see as one of the challenges that we have in trying to create homes that are healthy to raise children. Most children haven't seen it, so they don't know. So I certainly
there's so many.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's so many influences that are challenging relationships. So many. Organized religion is no longer leading us in terms of values and standards. We get in our standards from the popular culture. This idea, I don't know how new it is, but this idea of happiness. You hear a lot of happy talk, when I'm not happy, I want to be happy. Well, that kind of thinking was not foremost in the minds of husbands and wives. It was about the family unit, the man covering the woman and the woman covering him, helping him to meet the obligations that he had. The man being aware of whether he was making enough money to do it or not. His responsibility was to not go half-seat with his wife. His responsibility was to acknowledge that he's to be the maintainer and protector and provider of the family. Even that's how it's supposed to be. That's the standard that had been passed down. Are we still connected?
Yes. So now that's the thing. That's the standard that was passed down. And then things changed after World War II when factories and other places needed women to step in because the men had been sent off to war. That's where the culture shifted. And there was no way to shift it back, because once women got a taste of the independence of having their own money, they decided they wanted to be able to continue to be financially independent. So we never came up with new instructions. That's where the problem is. We never came up with new instructions on what a relationship looks like when you don't have a main provider and then the person who, you know, does the home maintenance work. And that structure was kind of based on, you know, a factory-based economy where men went out and worked and women stayed home. But in a agrarian economy where everybody worked in the field, work is just work. So it was not that idea of I do the work and you stay home. It's like we all work in this field because we all got to eat, and that's part of what the family does. The family, everybody has chores to do because we're all working together. So it was a different concept. You know, a man, of course, is supposed to provide, but everybody participates in the survival of the family in a land-based economy where everybody has to be a part of it. And we know that there are many cultures where the women are the ones who actually do the farming, and the men may go out to the market and sell the produce, but everybody works. So this idea of only one person working, that's kind of a Western industrialized concept. And it worked for a while, but then when they sent the women out in the factories to work because the men were off to war, then that didn't work anymore. And we didn't come up with new instructions.
Yeah.
So that's why we're at this point.
Not only new instructions, but understanding the importance of communication, because of these challenges, needed to increase. We needed to have more communication, and the way we were being communicated through by the commercial media was talking to us more than we were talking with one another.
Yes. Yeah, that is true. We've got a caller on our switchboard. I'm going to open up the mic for area code 773-450. Introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience and give us your thoughts on the question, what were men taught is the purpose of a woman in their life?
Wonderful program, Morgan. Y'all greetings and grand rising to Assalamu alaikum to brothers and sisters.
Yes,
welcome.
Brother Obadiah from Chicago. Thank you for joining us.
You know, one of the things in relationships, the traditional stuff that people get taught. For one thing, we have a monolithic idea about love, which is a mistake. When you love somebody and you feel them and help them be better, they're going to be more tractable to everybody else around them. You're supposed to absorb that so that everybody around you can get better. Our families, when we get relationships that really don't work, we break up, look at the broken family. Those men and those women need to be friendly with each other. They're supposed to be adults. Even if you break up with somebody, didn't you at least love them at once? But what did you say earlier? When men are being taught to make a woman some sex object, he's through with it, he blows her. What about the children that she has from him? We got to change our minds about building unity in our community. We got to cut all that out. We need to start a new paradigm called love. Love yourself. Love the people that are around you. Help them. Some type of way, people don't know what love means. They just use that word just blatantly. But generally, if it's in this proper perspective light, a man here has no intention of even talking to a woman if he can't help add something to her life. Why is he with her? We should be behind that. You know, helpfulness, right, is the most important thing we can have. So when men look at a woman and he sees she has needs, he's filling in the needs that she can't do for herself. That's how relationships are supposed to go. Two is supposed to be better than one. When is it that two is worse than one? That must mean y'all not working together. But you know, one hand on one hand, another person's hand on the other, two people putting their funds together to make it happen. And you know something, and I'll leave it on this. I always say it, but it's true. If you think 100 black men, 100 black women anywhere, and we just put $100 up every week, we would have over $1 billion in 52 weeks. What could we do? But bigger than the money, what would we do with the 200 people and all those gifts and talents that they can put together? We are being ruined because they make sure we don't have the unity. But if we unify, we would be running things tomorrow. That's all it takes. 200 people to garner $1 million in 1 year. That's side money, just the group working together. That's why they do everything they can to divide us. Because once we join, nobody can stop us. Let's keep the unity going and start there. Appreciate it. Otherwise, you don't even have a relationship or a family.
That is true.
Thank you.
Well, we certainly thank you for that thought.
Yeah.
We got to take a break, but when we come back, I'd like to take a look at some of the things that Obadiah said. And what would it take to create a mindset where people trusted each other enough to work together on that massive scale? Because first you have to have a family that is able to work together. And when you can create that, then you can multiply it with those hundreds of couples that put that money together and create communities. It's all doable. We have everything we need to make this happen. But the mind isn't there because of the conditioning. So what do we need to learn to change the mind? So we'll be right back after this quick break. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325 or 515-605-9891. And press 1 when you're ready to speak, and we'll open your mic and get your thoughts. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and our guest co-host today is Michael Hameen, who is host of Not Just Talk on AM 360. We'll be right back after this quick break, so stay with us.
Everything you need, what your body needs, is found in nature. So Susan Essentials doesn't do it any other way. Susan Essentials provides your employees and individuals access to over 20,000 nutritional products, and they are shipped direct to your door. Because Susan Essentials is certified in plant-based healing, we're permitted to offer you the best nutritional supplements on the planet. They're non-GMO and sustainably produced, and we take the guesswork out for you. Let Susan Essentials help you take control of your health today. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. We are a part of the online network of Associated Internet Radio hosts, On Air. On Air empowers you with transformative news and interactive radio TV shows. This is such a wonderful time to be alive and to see our human family coming together as one community as a result of that powerful tool, the internet. We can now talk directly to each other all over the world. There's no need for conflict or misunderstanding. There's no need for violence to solve our differences. We can talk to each other face to face until we reach an agreement. On Air offers a fantastic global guide to communicators from all over the world who are using their internet platforms to inspire us to strive to be our best selves in order to become the kind, compassionate, loving people we were all born to be. Once we do that, we'll see planet Earth transformed into a place of peace. Subscribe to the recommended YouTube channel, Facebook pages, and podcasts created by these Voices of Enlightenment. On Air provides daily news briefs and a weekly magazine to keep you abreast of events and opportunities. on-air news affiliates in television, radio, and print share information, insight, and interviews with notable personalities. Go to onaireverywhere.com for a daily dose of uplifting news. We're on air everywhere, online all the time.
Oh, man. God sent the monthly sun bill today. This sunlight is really expensive, especially during this season. I'll probably have to work overtime to pay it.
Well, you better pay it on time. We don't want the sun to go out and we're sitting up here all day in the dark.
Wouldn't it be terrible if God charged us for sunlight? Well, thank God, the light and heat from the sun is free. So why are we paying such high bills for the energy we use in our homes? Because we don't know how to use solar energy, the free energy from the sun. You can convert your regular home to a solar energy home and save tremendously on your electric bill. Take a look at your electric bill. Wouldn't you like to reduce or possibly even eliminate that cost altogether? Let one of our solar consultants show you how. Call today, 312-849-3456, and schedule a free consultation. That's 312-849-3456.
And
Yeah.
you're back.
I like that.
Yes. So you're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and our guest co-host today is Brother Michael Hameen, host of Not Just Talk on AM 360. And we've got our AM 360 family on the other line, and we are looking to hear from you. We've asked the question, man, what were you taught is the purpose of a woman in your life? I'm wondering if we're actually showing them more of the negative than the positive. Michael, what do you think about all of the music industry and the denigration of women using the B word and all that, and just the portrayals of women in such a derogatory way? And of course, the women are participating in this because, you know, for them it's like, ooh, I get to be famous, and, you know, people will admire me. And so, I mean, they don't have a concept of respect for womanhood based on what they're projecting. They look at the need for fame and acceptance, and they're willing tools in their own denigration. What do you think about that? What makes in your opinion, what would make a young girl choose that? Is it the absence of a father who loves her and tells her she's important? I mean, how does that happen?
Well, and I want to go right to start with home and then spread abroad. The Muslim community leadership, too many have gotten away from the model example of Muhammad, who received the Quran, or Quran as it's called, and have gone into following social and cultural leadership that is not grounded in respect for the human being, male and female, and with equal respect for the intelligence and the moral strength. This honor killings and so forth that we've read about in the news, women being killed and jailed for not wearing a black bag, not being covered the way the so-called political leadership insist that they be covered, which is not in line with the Quran. And when you go on Hajj, you see women dressed in all various designs and colors of modesty. When you go on Hajj, it's only the men that have to wear the diaper-looking two-part
Diaper
dress, one covering the top and one covering the bottom. All the men have to conform to wearing that two-piece, very very primitive-looking dress, and it is emblematic of the men being like babies and messing up the world,
Wow.
with their diapers. But the women are dressed modestly with pinks and blues and yellows, as long as it's a modest dress. So at God's house, what we call the Hajj, where the Kaaba is, that's the orientation point of the house that's covered up, and it's covered with a dress from top to bottom. But you have these signs in the religion that point to what God wants to be established, and we miss the men. We miss it. And you go to the church, we mentioned about the women not having souls, and then there's certain Jewish connections with incorrect alignment with their scripture that have the women not being respected as they should be respected. So you can stop religion in terms of some of these problems, and getting away from those leaders, getting away from Moses, getting away from Jesus Christ's example, getting away from Muhammad's example, and messing up the world, messing up relationships.
Well, I look at the philosophy that has permeated the teachings about our bodies, and the whole Adam and Eve story. They ate from the tree of knowledge and realized they were naked, etc., etc. We have, out of all the species on the planet, the most dysfunctional beliefs about sexuality than any species on the planet. No one else has made
That's true.
reproduction such an emotional, distressing, traumatic event, because we don't understand how our bodies function, and we think parts of our bodies are dirty, wrong, sinful, and punishable by God. I mean, no one else, no other species on the planet is this dysfunctional when it comes to sexuality other than the human being. So what we are, oh yes. So what we are striving to teach in our Parenting with Peace class is, first of all, helping the child understand that they are a soul. You're not the body that you're wearing. This is just a covering. This is not who you are. You are the soul inside the body. This is a vehicle through which you will come and do the service to the world while you're in it. And then you will return to our Creator. So that being the case, this body cannot define you or confine you. And whatever gender you're born into, whatever color it is, none of that confines you in terms of your creative genius. So we seek to equip the child with the true knowledge of who they are at the very core of their instruction. So no one can manipulate or twist their self-concept and make them believe they are lesser than who they are. So when it comes to the idea of how we bond together as mates, as husbands and wives, as people who love each other and want to form a family, the teaching must be also at the very foundation that, as I believe our brother Obadiah said, we have to have a teaching based on love. That's what everything must be based on. You don't violate someone that you love. You don't you don't violate their sense of personhood by unwanted touching of their body or using their body as a tool for your own excitement or self-pleasuring. They're not a thing. Their body is not a thing. So if you respect who you are as a soul, as an expression of divine intelligence from the Creator, then you would not violate any other being. It would not be inside of you to do so.
Yeah.
So that being the case,
Yeah.
the idea that someone has to cover up themselves so that you don't violate them, that thought becomes invalid, because you're not going to violate someone no matter what they're wearing. You will not violate someone because that's not inside of you. So the way we dress, whatever cultural expression it is, should never be the cause or the excuse for someone violating us, because violating another person's body is something that would not be inside the soul of someone who is taught at the foundation who they are as a soul, an expression of God, as we all are. And when we teach that, as opposed to misteachings of women don't have souls, or they listen to the snake and bit the apple, instead of teaching those misteachings, if you teach a foundation of truth, then that behavior will not evolve inside that human being.
Yeah. We've got Imam Kareem.
Oh, wonderful.
With his hand up here.
All right.
And we're going to bring him into the conversation.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes, welcome. Imam Kareem, is your mic muted? There you are.
Yes, this is Kareem Hamid, and I want to thank you, Michael, for filling me in for me. What a wonderful presentation you are giving this morning, and it really feels good to listen. I'm truly enjoying it and benefiting from you and Naima's commentary. This is definitely most gratifying and wonderful. Praise you to Almighty God Allah. By way of this unity of our families and the deconstruction of the sacred institution of marriage, Almighty God says to us, first off, we have to acknowledge and that there is an enemy to human beings. That is a fact. It's not a hocus pocus. It's not some ghost flying around and all of that. No, there are human beings that want to truly denigrate and take note the common human being. They are dedicated to that. And we have to understand that we have an enemy. When Almighty God cast Adam and his progeny out of heaven, he did not send them alone. He did not cast them out alone. He cast the enemy of the human being out also. And in Christianity, he is known as Satan. In Islam, he is known as the Shaitan. And being aware of that, we have to be aware of him. And Almighty God says of him, of this Satan, that he gives you false desires. False desires. I'll reach back into our short past we were given images of what the perfect woman looks like. If I'm not mistaken, there was a woman in the early 1800s, no, in the late 1800s. She was lifted up as a sex symbol. I can't remember her name. It'll come to me. That brand of the perfect woman. Then I remember in my lifetime, it was Marilyn Monroe, Zsa Zsa Gabor, yes, Liz Taylor. As this is the model. This is the perfect woman. And by way of men, they showed the African-American man, Cab Calloway. He was light, bright, and damn near white. His hair was straight. Yeah, this is the truth. His hair was straight, and he could flop it around just like Caucasian men. He was a very popular musician and band leader. They gave us, by way of the African American, she's from St. Louis, Josephine Baker. She was light, bright, damn near white, and she undressed. She undressed in France. It was a burlesque show. And Dorothy Dandridge, she could almost pass for white. So that plays within us false desires of what is the perfect model. If I come home, if I buy that model, and my wife looks like Hattie McDaniel. Hattie McDaniel was a plump, dark-skinned African-American woman. Beautiful. To me, beautiful. But that was not the model. And by us not being aware of what was being done to us, we was given false desires. If your husband comes home, he is in some beer overalls. He just got through cleaning out a sewer. He does not look like Cab Calloway or Billy D. Williams. These false desires that have been placed within us, then that dilutes our commitment to one another. And by way of occupation, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. When we use the terminology, yes, he or she is a professional, immediately we visualize someone in a suit, sitting in an office, behind a desk, shelling papers or whatever. That is designated as a profession. But let me correct that. If a man is a plumber, that is his profession. That is how he earns his living. And plumbers make good money. All of us know, boy, when you call a plumber, just write down 2 zeros starting off before he, starting right off. That is his profession. He is a professional, a carpenter. They make large sums of money. He is a professional. It is his profession. So Satan has placed within us false desires. And we try to live up to and eat those false desires. By way of love, the term love is very valuable. It's a very strong emotion. But care must accompany that. I care about you. I may love you, but do I really care about you? Care about your well-being, your state of mind, your condition. Care about you. I have a pair of flip-flops that I wear just And I love those feelings. They're very comfortable. But I've got a pair of reptile covered shoes called snakeskin. Oh, I love them. But when I put them up, they came in very soft fabric pouches for each shoe. I make sure I place that shoe inside of that pouch. And I put those shoes in the box that it came in. I take that box, I put it on the highest shelf in my closet. Why? Because I value it and I care. I care about that person. That I'm equating that with how we should care about each other. Not based upon our physical attributes. You're so correct, Mike, concerning our physical attributes. It is Satan that have dirtied up the act of consummation of sex. Satan has given us a false idea of what it is to be a woman. It is not Cardi B. It is not Beyonce. It is not Little Kim. And for us males, it is not Jay-Z. It is not the so-called the most sexiest man on earth. They do that every year.
So let me ask this question. So let me ask this question. It sounds like the problems began with the emergence of a mass media system that showed us images and sounds, and basically we are subjected to the programming that we see that has had more influence than parents in the house, because when you watch television, you're bringing those images into your home, and those become the teaching tools that define the culture. So if your children are learning the cultural values from the television, then basically whoever creates the programs controls the minds of your children. So now we as parents who buy the TVs and we buy the computers, and now everything is coming through on all of our devices, all the images, we have given power to define reality over to those who create the programs. So since we've given them that power, what they've done with that power is to brainwash and program the children who want to be loved, admired, adored, and all of that, like these images of these people that they see. And so they imitate them. But like you said, these are false images. But if we don't have functional families that are stronger than the fake images, then the children will go after the fake images. And one of the things that of course Michael was talking about, the fact that if our families are dysfunctional, then they don't have the influence on the minds of the children the way we used to have before TV, before movies, before we were told what we should look like and who we should act like. We had families, and then we had community gatherings. Well, now those things no longer have the influence. We've given that power away to people who program electronic devices. So what do we do to change that? Because it's in our power to change. What do we do?
Michael mentioned something that's very important. Targeted commercials.
Mm-hmm.
There are commercials targeted and aimed at our children. There are commercials and messages that target the male mind. It is selective. There is commercials produced that target the female. When there was door-to-door sales that sold products, there was a system whereby a salesman would come in those hours that they knew the male would be in the home.
Right.
And at work.
Mm-hmm.
It was targeted. He comes home and here's some big old shiny contraption They passed the table. So we have to get our life back. We have to get our life back. And pardon me, communication is very important. As families, do we talk to one another? Do we hold family conversations? Do we talk to, when communication breaks down, now you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble. The Satan has produced within us false desires, whereby a woman does not want to be a mother any longer. Why? Because she has a career that she's aiming. The husband does not want a family anymore. Why? Because he wants to be that table. He wants to be that alpha, total alpha male, and he see women as a prize, something to go out there and get as many of them as he can and copulate with them. These are false desires that the Satan has placed right in the center of the family. So I'll stop there, my sister. We need to talk to one another.
Absolutely.
As families and as believing people. I'll stop right there. Thank you. And Michael, thank you once more. You are doing excellent. Excellent. All right. Great. Praise God. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Great, baby.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, we thank you both so very much for opening the doors so that our AM 360 family can participate. We've got callers on the line. We're going to go to a caller. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to go to 872-453 and then 779-801. So hold on. We'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. And if we get a chance, we'll go back to 773-450, see if you've got any more comments. And anyone else on our switchboard, if you've got a thought, press 1, and we will open your mic and get your thoughts. And we'll be right back after this quick break. So we want you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in just one moment. So stay with us.
Assalamu alaikum.
Crime in Chicago continues to increase. Communities and politicians must come together to make a change. No one person can solve these problems by themselves, but I believe together we can make progress. Let's provide job training, economic growth, and invest into our 77 communities. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
Our kids are the future and should not be left behind. One person should not decide what is the best for our 77 communities. Politicians must work together for our kids' best interests. They deserve a safe education with resources that meet every student need. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
Taxes are higher than ever. Every day, thousands of our residents leave Chicago to shop in Indiana. Jobs are being lost, and businesses are relocating. Let's find a way to lower our taxes to encourage residents to continue living and shopping in our city. Let's rebuild. Let's restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of the city of Chicago, and I will work hard to find solutions that matter. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
Hi, this is John Alexander.
And I'm Naima Latif. Meet people like you who are making a positive difference in the world. Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/TheMediaConnectionTV.
YouTube it. We'll see you soon.
There are people who choose to make a positive difference in the world. Our job is to bring you their story to motivate you to do the same. Join us each week, host John Alexander and Naima Latif, as we bring you the educators, entertainers, elected officials, religious leaders, and community activists whose works are transforming this world. Find out how you can make a difference too. Be inspired. Watch The Media Connection. Mondays at 5 p.m. and Tuesdays at 12 noon on Cable TV, Channel 19 in Chicago. And other cities, check your local cable listing.
I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata.
We are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and we've been joined by our co-host, Brother Kareem Hamid, and of course, sitting in for him has been our guest co-host, Michael Hamid, who's host of Not Just Talk on AM 360. And we've been exploring the question, men, what were you taught was the purpose of a woman in your life? This is a critical question because obviously what we've been learning has been very destructive to the relationship between men and women. And so as we prepare to launch our Parenting with Peace class, to give parents the power to shape a different kind of human being, we have to take a look at what has been dysfunctional in our belief system for so many years and what we need to change. Brother Crane, you said something about us realizing we have an enemy. And yesterday's show was a very powerful show. And for those who missed it, I recommend you going to the archives. But on our Tuesday show, we share a lot of information about the power of energy healing and the fact that we're all energetic beings. That's all we are. And if we understand that reality, then we can understand the power that we have as energy beings to exist at a higher level of vibration, because we're all vibrating cells, molecules. That's all we are. We are the energy, and each of us are a specific energy signature. That's what we are. And what creates that unique energy signature is the totality of our thoughts, feelings, emotions. That's who we are. That's who we are inside this body. Well, the negative energy of disease can only penetrate this body if we're vibrating at a low frequency. And what produces a low frequency is negative thought. Negative emotions such as fear, hate, anger, resentment, guilt, shame. The lower level thinking it's like if you've ever watched Star Trek and they're in the ship and they got shields and when the enemy is attacking them, they say raise your shields. So even when someone's firing missiles, they can't penetrate, they just bounce off the outside of the ship. Well, that's how we are. When our shields are up, that means we are at a high frequency of vibration. And what creates high frequency? Love, compassion, forgiveness. The higher frequencies, higher vibrations, we become impenetrable by disease. Well, it's the same thing as negative thought. the lower thought that comes from unseen entities that you mentioned can only penetrate someone whose shields are lowered by lower thought, such as negative emotions, fear, anger, hate, resentment. So, as it happens on an energetic level with disease, so it happens on the emotional and spiritual level of thought. We are impenetrable when we are operating at that higher level. When we are in a state of love, we do not hear the whisperings of lower energies that tell us to do negative things. We're impenetrable, impenetratable. So if we stay at that higher level, as all spiritual masters have taught us, it doesn't matter what they're doing, we will not be affected. It's the same with disease. It's the same with negative ideas. It's the same with negative images. When you're at that higher frequency in your own spiritual being, nothing can penetrate you that is negative. And this is the secret that really isn't a secret, because every single spiritual teacher has been teaching this. And what has happened in our religions is that they get reinterpreted by people who are negative, and so they inject a negative thought into the original teachings of love and compassion and forgiveness, and make it be something that is hostile. So that's how we end up with distorted beliefs that say women don't have souls, or, you know, if you're dark skinned, you're cursed. All of these negative things that we have allowed ourselves to believe have to be removed. Just like you have to go through a cleansing to get rid of toxic things that you've ingested. We've ingested toxic thoughts that have lowered our shields and made us susceptible to attack. We have to get rid of those toxic thoughts and beliefs and feelings, raise our shields up with the energy of love, and we will not be able to be penetrated by the negativity around us. And that's what we're seeking to create. And the children who will be taught parenting with peace, and children who will be taught who they are in a way that does not make them susceptible to anyone else's racism, sexism, or classism, because they know who they are as a soul and an expression of God. And that's what will protect them forever. And that's what will empower them to create a society that reflects that. That's our goal. So I'm going to take some calls, and if you've got some calls on your switchboard, let us know. We will open the mics, and let me open the mic of area code. Let's go first to 872-453, and then next 779-801. 872-450. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your comments regarding what men were taught is the purpose of a woman in their life. Check your mute on your phone. 872-450. Your mic is open. Go right ahead. Uh, 872-450. We can't hear you. Are you speaking into your phone? We're not able to hear them, so I'm going to take the next call. We'll go back to them. 779-801. Your mic is open. Grand Rising.
This is Maika.
Hey, Maika. So glad to hear your voice.
Yeah, I got on at 8 o'clock, so I missed some of the presentations that were made. But I did want to speak to something that you kind of alluded to in your last presentation a few minutes ago. And one of the things that we don't take into account is demons in the world. Imam Kareem speaks of Satan, but Satan comes in the form of demons, and they're very real. As a certified clinical hypnotherapist, I had to take classes on how to get rid of demons in people. And actually came in contact with demons to the point that, people started calling me the demon slayer. Everybody else in the class got afraid. When the demon showed up, everybody else got afraid. They said, I'm not going to do this work. I'm not going to do this work. And they said, if we run into one, Mike, we'll call you. But I realized I've been lax in the work that I was prepared to do. I think that, if you study comparative religions, in India, there's a religion with Krishna. Krishna is the deity, like Muhammad or Jesus. And there are cartoons on YouTube about little Krishna. And Krishna was a little boy. They're very interesting cartoons. Krishna was a demon slayer. But these were large demons that would be attacking villages and what have you. And Krishna he's the blue-black god. And he would slay these demons. But what I've come to realize of late is that these big demons have turned into little demons. And they have invaded people's lives. And they have to be eradicated. And it just so happens that the professionals have not really taken them serious or into account. So you have preachers and teachers and psychologists, what have you, and they got PhDs, but they're still poor, helpless dummies because they don't know anything about the demons and how to get rid of the demons. And oftentimes these demons get in them, and they can hide under the guise of that PhD. So I think that demons got released during slavery more than anything else. Because in slavery, there was a lot of sexual abuse. And it was never repaired. It was never healed. It was never understood. Because sex is a release of life force energy. But there are two ways that life force energy is released. But in slavery, we were only allowed to release it through the genitals, through sex. The other way to release life force energy is through creative creation. You have procreation and you have creation, which comes out of the brain. But we weren't taught how to channel life force energy into our brains to bring about creation. They didn't care what we created, but we were very creative people. But that was shut down. So as a result, all of our life force energy seeks to express itself through sex. But it doesn't work like that. You have to get the creative channels awakened. I had an experience just recently within the last 2 weeks where I was seeking to get to know a brother who had asked me to be on a board with him for his organization. And so I decided I was going to spend some time with him because I like to really get to know people. And after the third meeting, he started approaching me sexually. And I literally had to tell the brother, look, I am not a prostitute. I am not a whore. I'm not a girlfriend. I'm not a friends with benefit. I am some man's wife. And why would you mess with some man's wife? You know you're not looking for one. That embarrassed him and made him shut down because I told him that. And then after that, I told him, and I said, and then also, there's the spread of disease. You don't know what I got or what I do got. Why would I have sex? And I don't know what you got. Why would I jump in the bed with you? It's crazy. And then I told him about, and not only can you catch a sexual disease from somebody, you can catch a demon from people. Well, I ain't never had that to happen. You don't know, I told him. You wouldn't know if it did happen to you. So it was like, it really awakened me to this thing about the possession of people by demons, demonic spirits. And they come in a number of ways. And this is not a good time to discuss how they come, but they do. There are ways that demons come into people and possess people and run their lives. I truly believe that a lot of the problems out in the world, like with the mass killings and what have you, is a result of demonic possession. Because people they don't recall having done what they have been accused of doing. They're like in shock. So we have to begin to look at those hard subjects that scare most people. We need brave people to come out of the woodwork and begin to learn how to deal with these demons that possess people. And one of the ways that they do come through is the sexual relationship, because you're open. You're open for being possessed. Your whole spirit is open. And I love the scripture that in heaven there's neither male nor female. That as a soul there's neither male nor female. And we really do have to teach people to develop relationships void of the gender specific as it relates to how we value and deal with people in terms of who they are and their true value beyond themselves being a female or a male. And it is real that men are looking at us females as sex objects. We're so much more, and we've got to teach our children how to come to a higher understanding about who we are. Who is that says we have to move from emotions and come to a level of Christ thinking? I think it was Elijah Muhammad had a saying similar to that. And we do. We have to move beyond emotions and begin to think from our Christ-like mind. And we have to solve these problems because they're proliferating more and more every day as children are kidnapped and sexualized and violated by adults and whoever has a chance to be with them in private. So thank you for listening. I appreciate you all. Peace.
Peace and
Thank you.
blessings. We thank you
Peace
so
be with
much.
you, Demon Slayer, peace be with you.
The
I got to
interest.
get on my job.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
I love it. Let me share this.
Yes.
Do we have time?
Oh, absolutely. Go right ahead.
There is a very important concept that was left with the associates of Imam W.D. Muhammad before his passing, and that is a language environment, or language environment. And he first gave this idea that I heard when he described the Nation of Islam, led by his father, as a language environment, more than just bean pies and newspapers, Muhammad Speaks newspapers, but that community represented a language environment where we thought in a particular way in terms of doing for self, respecting ourselves and respecting our women and so forth, having a very positive and maybe in some cases an ultra positive view of ourselves, that we defined. We were in charge of the definition, the defining focus. And so when we look at the world, we see a world full of oppressive language environment. Now, we were lied to and told that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt. But words can not only destroy, kill the soul, or damage the soul in such a way that is like unto death, but words, and that can be anything that sends a message to the brain. It doesn't just have to be the literal ABCs, the formulation of words, but behavior can express language and words. And trauma has a way of affecting the soul. And we've heard of there's so many faces of Eve, multiple personalities that represented a woman who not only represented herself in terms of another personality in feminine or female form, but also we know of males and females presenting opposite gender presentations within their one body. And I've heard it discussed in terms of a traumatic experience causing a break.
Yes.
A break in the real self.
Yeah.
And through that break, is transmitted these varying expressions of personality. On the positive end, we've heard of traumatic experiences causing people to become genius in terms of music or mathematics, like the Rain Man kind of feel, We know, so there's so much that we don't understand about the human being and its representation. Those energies that you talked about express themselves in many different ways: resilience, hope. There's so many expressions, and we're going to have to teach our children how to tap into the excellence that the Creator has put into us, and how to resist the negative bombardment of this oppressive language environment that we find in the culture. Where you have urges and passions unchecked by good sense, it causing folks to act just as crazy as they want to be.
Yes, that is it. It's all possible. We have the power to create and the capacity to transform everything that we're experiencing into the heavenly culture that Earth has the power to become. We can do this. We just have to know that we can do this. We have to know that we have the power to do this. And we have to know that this is the plan for the Creator of the universe, for Earth to become that heaven it was meant to be. So we're going through the process of transformation now. That is what's happening. And when we know this, then rather than live in fear, we can live in the faith and the belief and the understanding that this is our purpose. This is why we are here. So, well, it's time to go now. I want to say thank you to Michael Hamid for sitting in for our brother Kareem Hamid, and certainly grateful that he was able to step in and speak a moment and share some wisdom with us. And thanks to all who called in and shared their thoughts. And join us tomorrow. We'll be back here with Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. Always a chance to get some real therapy right here on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And you can go in the archives and find out. And of course, tune in to American Muslim 360, whole day long of programming on Blog Talk Radio.
90 seconds.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And we will see you all tomorrow. And until that time, continue to shine your light.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye. We've come to the end of our show today, but you can hear every show in the archives at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Watch our TV shows, listen to our radio shows, order our books, And be sure to get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussion. And to our global family listening from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, Sheshe. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, Mexico, Korea, Kamsahamnida. Russia, Spasiba. Germany, Danke. Poland, Dziękuję. France, Merci. Spain, Gracias. Italy, Grazie. Egypt, Shukran. Ghana, Medasi. South Africa, Nyabonga. Senegal, Geret. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakkur. Saudi Arabia, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you. And may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessing.